The first time I saw Queen Averial of the Virex Dominion, she was seated upon a throne grown, not built, an immense lattice of living crystal and bioluminescent stone that pulsed faintly with her heartbeat. The chamber was the size of a city plaza, its vaulted ceiling open to a purple sky threaded with orbital rings. Thousands of alien courtiers stood in perfect silence, and I was standing in the middle of it, wearing borrowed clothes and the expression of a man who knew he had made a catastrophic mistake somewhere along the way. I was human, a civilian xenolinguist contracted by the Terran Union. I was not supposed to be here. The escort drones nudged me forward with gentle but insistent force fields. At the far end of the hall, the Queen's eyes, 4 of them, arranged in a symmetrical arc, focused on me. They were not hostile. That somehow made it worse. "Approach," she said. Her voice didn't echo. It didn't need to. It arrived directly in my bones. I swallowed and walked. Months earlier, I had volunteered for what was supposed to be a simple assignment: assist in cultural translation during a joint research initiative on Virex Prime. The Virex were ancient, powerful, and notoriously insular. But they wanted one thing humans had in abundance: adaptive intuition. We noticed patterns others missed. We bonded easily. We improvised. Apparently, we also made excellent genetic surprises. I didn't know that yet. When I reached the base of the throne, I bowed as protocol demanded. My heart was hammering hard enough that I wondered if the Queen could hear it. "Daniel Mercer," she said, her gaze never leaving me. "You are aware why you have been summoned?" "No, Your Radiance," I answered honestly. A ripple passed through the court. Surprise. Curiosity. Something else. The Queen stood. She was taller than any Virex I had seen, her form elegant and terrifying all at once. Translucent skin shimmered with internal light. She descended the steps with deliberate slowness until she was only an arm's length away. Then she placed a hand over her abdomen, and the room went very, very quiet. "I carry a child," Queen Averial said. "Your child." The silence shattered. I don't remember falling to my knees, but suddenly the floor was there, cool and solid beneath my palms. My mind raced, grasping at memories, shared meals, long nights of conversation during the research phase, the strange emotional resonance I'd felt around her before I even knew who she truly was. One night stood out. A diplomatic festival. A ceremonial bonding ritual I had misunderstood as symbolic. I laughed weakly. That's not possible. I mean, I'm human. You're compatible, she interrupted calmly. Uniquely so. The court erupted into controlled chaos. Advisors whispered. Generals stiffened. Religious figures bowed their heads. I looked up at her. "Why am I just hearing about this now?" "Because," she said softly, "if I told you earlier, you would have tried to leave." I opened my mouth to deny it. She was right. "You cannot leave," she continued, her tone shifting, not threatening, but unyielding. "Not now." That was how my captivity began. They called it protection. I was housed in a suite larger than my entire apartment back on Earth. Gardens grew indoors, tailored to human biology. I had access to knowledge archives, entertainment, even communication with the Terran Union, filtered, of course. What I didn't have was freedom. The Queen visited often. At first, our conversations were strained. I accused her of deception. She countered that she had followed every law of her people, and that humans, frustratingly, had none that applied here. "You took away my choice," I said during one heated exchange. She regarded me quietly. "No." I revealed a consequence. "Choice still exists." "Does it?" I gestured at the guarded doors. "Because I don't see an exit." She stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating from her. If you leave, our child will be hunted. That stopped me cold. The dominion will fracture, she said. Some will see the child as a bridge, others as an abomination. Your presence stabilizes the factions. So I'm a political anchor, I muttered. You are the father, she replied, eyes softening. And that matters to me. That was the part that confused me most. Despite everything, she never treated me like a prisoner. She listened. She learned human customs with genuine curiosity. She laughed, an odd, chiming sound, at my sarcasm. She asked about Earth, about my childhood, about what it meant to grow up under a sky that never changed color. Slowly, against my will, resentment gave way to something more complicated. Fear. Because I started to care. Weeks passed, then months. The Queen's pregnancy progressed faster than any human timeline. Virex's biology was efficient, adaptive. Our child was growing rapidly, monitored constantly by teams of scientists who alternated between awe and terror. One night, I woke to alarms. Not the gentle chimes of palace notifications, but the harsh, staccato wail of a security breach. The door slid open, and Queen Averial strode in, regal robes replaced by combat regalia. Her eyes glowed brighter than I had ever seen. They are moving early, she said. Who is they? I asked, already pulling on clothes. The Purity Conclave, she replied. They believe the child must be destroyed, and you with it. My blood ran cold. So, what do we do? She met my gaze. We run. What followed was chaos. The palace, once serene and orderly, became a battleground. Loyal guards clashed with insurgents. Energy weapons lit the halls. I stayed close to the Queen as we moved through hidden passages, her hand gripping mine with surprising strength. We reached a secure transport bay where a sleek vessel awaited. As the door sealed behind us and the ship launched into orbit, I finally let myself breathe. You could have left me behind, I said quietly as stars streaked past the viewport. She shook her head. Never. The conclave pursued us beyond the atmosphere. 3 warships emerged from hyperspace, weapons charging. I stared at the tactical display. We can't outrun them. No, she agreed. But we can outthink them. She turned to me. Humans are unpredictable. Improvisers. Tell me, what would you do? I blinked. You're asking me? I trust you, she said simply. That word hit harder than any confinement ever had. An idea sparked. Risky. Desperate. They won't expect negotiation, I said. They expect dominance. Or submission. She smiled faintly. Go on. Open a channel, I said. Let me speak. Minutes later, I stood before a holographic projection of the conclave's leader, a towering figure wreathed in ceremonial armor. My name is Daniel Mercer, I said, voice steady despite everything. I am human, and I am the father of the child you fear. They hissed in contempt. You see weakness, I continued. I see evolution. Humans survived by bonding with the unknown, by turning enemies into family. I gestured to the Queen beside me. Kill us, and you prove you fear change. Let the child live, and the Dominion gain something it has never had, adaptability. Silence. Then, unexpectedly, laughter. Bold, the leader said. Very human. The warships powered down. It wasn't peace, but it was enough. We returned to the palace under heavy guard. The conclave retreated, for now. In the aftermath, something shifted. The court no longer whispered about me. They watched, measured. Some bowed. The Queen and I spent long hours together, preparing for what was coming. She asked me to stay, not as a captive, but as consort. I won't force you, she said one evening, hand resting over her abdomen where I could feel a faint, unfamiliar pulse. But if you leave, you may never see your child again. The old anger flared, then faded, because I realized something important. She wasn't threatening me. She was afraid. I'll stay, I said quietly, but not because I'm trapped. Her eyes met mine. Hope flickered there, fragile and real. Then why? She asked. Because, I said, placing my hand over hers, this kid deserves both parents. And maybe two worlds that don't have to fear each other. The day our child was born, the skies over Virex Prime changed color. Literally. Bioluminescent storms rolled across the atmosphere as if the planet itself was reacting. The birth chamber was filled with scientists, priests, and guards, but when the moment came, it was just the two of us. The child, our child, was unlike anything either species had seen. Human eyes. Virex luminescence. A calm presence that seemed to quiet the room. The queen held them close, tears of light spilling freely. They will change everything, she whispered. I nodded. No pressure, kid. Years later, historians would argue about whether it was love or politics that reshaped the Dominion. They would be wrong. It was choice. I was offered freedom many times after that. I could have returned to Earth. I could have been an ambassador, a symbol, a footnote. I chose to stay, not because the queen wouldn't release me, but because, in the end, she didn't have to. I stayed because I wanted to, because sometimes the universe doesn't give you a simple path forward. Sometimes it gives you a family and asks you to be brave enough to accept it. The birth of our child did not end the conflict. It exposed it. Within days, the Virex Dominion fractured along ideological lines. Entire planetary councils declared emergency assemblies. The Purity Conclave did not dissolve. They retreated, regrouped, and began spreading a far more dangerous idea than open rebellion. They claimed the child was not a bridge. They claimed the child was a weapon. Queen Averial felt the shift before anyone reported it. The palace lights dimmed one night as she stood beside the viewport, her silhouette framed by the living stars of Virex Prime. I was holding our child, small, warm, impossibly quiet for being born amid so much upheaval. They are afraid, she said softly. Of her? I asked. Of what follows her? The queen replied. A future they cannot control. Security tightened. Loyal fleets repositioned. For the first time in Dominion history, the queen invoked the right of absolute revelation, a decree so old it had not been used in over 30 millennia. It required her to stand before the entire Dominion and reveal the truth without veil or ceremony. Including me. The grand convocation hall dwarfed even the throne chamber. Trillions watched through quantum relay, every caste, every species bound to the Dominion. The queen entered alone, holding our child. And then she did something no Virex ruler had ever done. She beckoned me forward. Gasps rippled through the hall when I stood beside her. Not behind, not below. Equal height, equal presence. This is Daniel Mercer, she said. Human. Father of my child. My chosen partner. The conclave representatives erupted in protest. Your radiance this violates. She silenced them with a single raised hand. You fear extinction, she said, voice carrying across worlds. Yet you cling to stagnation. You worship purity while your stars grow cold. She looked down at our child. This life is not a weapon. She is proof. Proof that biology is not destiny. Proof that strength is not sameness. Proof that survival favors those who adapt. Then she did something else that shocked the Dominion even more. She offered me the floor. I had spoken to diplomats, to soldiers, to rebels. I had never spoken to a civilization. I didn't ask for this, I said honestly. I didn't come here to change your empire. Murmurs spread. I came here to translate words. Instead, I learned something else. That fear sounds the same in every language. I gestured toward the conclave delegates. You're afraid she'll replace you. That your old rules won't matter anymore. I looked at the billions watching. They won't. Not because she's dangerous, but because they were never enough. Silence. Heavy. Absolute. Then a single world pledged loyalty. Then another. Then a fleet. The conclave withdrew in disgrace, not defeated by force, but abandoned. The queen exhaled for the first time in weeks. That night, she finally asked me the question she had been afraid to voice. If you wish to leave now, she said quietly, I would not stop you. I looked at our child sleeping between us, her faint bioluminescence rising and falling with each breath. Release me? I asked gently. Yes. I took her hand. I'm already free. Years passed. The Dominion changed, not overnight, but permanently. Mixed research initiatives flourished. Humans and Virex shared colonies. Trade lanes became cultural corridors. The phrase hybrid diplomacy entered 1,000 languages. Our child grew quickly, mind sharp and compassionate in ways neither species could fully explain. She asked impossible questions. She laughed easily. She saw connections others missed. One day, as she stood between us watching the stars, she asked, Did you stay because you had to? Queen Averial looked at me. I smiled. No, I said. I stayed because love doesn't always come with an escape route. The queen rested her head against my shoulder, an act that would have once been unthinkable. The Dominion did not fall. It evolved. And so did I. I was never released. Because I was never truly held.